has done. The left has talked about infiltrating government at every level. Now, thank God we got Darrell. You know, he's got a fire in his belly for a higher level than I do. I'm okay to step up for township supervisor. But it's all about the grassroots. It's about getting out the votes. It's about winning elections. It's about putting people in place who are sympathetic to our points of view. Doesn't matter what the office is or how high up it is. We need to do it at every level. I'm not up here asking for any kind of donations. I got that covered. That's fine. What I need is I need people from Doylestown Township. I need your vote. If you live in the township, I'd love to put a yard sign up because yard signs get votes and they get more people interested. If you live near the township on a main road, I'll even take that for a yard sign. If you've got some time, I don't want to set up a day and say, hey, everybody meet me at Saturday morning at 9 o'clock and let's go knock on doors, because you can never coordinate a lot of schedules like that. But if you got some time, grab my literature. It's on that back table to the right. Give me a call, write me an email, tell me you can meet me Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock and you've got 2 hours. I'll give you literature, I'll give you a neighborhood, and you can help me out. I need help knocking on doors, working the grassroots that Darrell just talked about to get into office so we can have somebody sitting there. And this is a 6-year term. And for 6 years, you're going to have a life NRA member, a pro-Second Amendment supporter. I'm essentially you guys, and I'm going to be in a position where I can make a difference. And I'd like your help with that. Any questions? Or?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? Just to vet me a little bit, make sure I'm thinking the same way you are. We're good?
There's one there.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you go, ma'am. Yeah, well, I mean, that is honestly a little bit beyond the Board of Supervisors level, but essentially I think I understand what it is. You're talking about the UN passed Agenda 21. Yeah, well, I oppose the UN. I mean, it's essentially a group of, it validates thugs and dictators, you know, to pretend that they're legitimate governments, you know, to have influence over us. You know, what can we do at the township level to fight Agenda 21? You tell me. Well, yeah, and I oppose generally most of what the UN stands for. I think we ought to get out of it, and I think we ought to move it out of New York. So, I mean, that's where I'm at. Sir.
With respect to Agenda 21, have you checked out the Bucks County comprehensive plan?
No, I haven't.
You need to read that.
Yeah,
You
he's
need to
right.
understand that. Because Agenda 21 is something that you as a supervisor need to be aware of and need to fight.
Well,
That's where we need.
right, and I understand. And my position is that government should support business, government should support citizens. You shouldn't need to go begging on hands and knees. Again, I've got literature on my website. You can check it out. We just had Del Val College. It's a great organization, great institution, begging our township if they could improve their stadium, add some lights and everything. They're in there, you know, on hands and knees saying, please, may I hire local contractors? May I improve my business? May I attract more customers? In their case, it's students. And actually, my opponent, Rick Calillo, was the only township supervisor to vote against it. This is mind-numbing. If you own businesses, you shouldn't have to beg the government for permission to improve your business. You need to have a pro-business attitude, a pro-business platform, and pro-personal property rights. Personal property rights is everything. It's whether you want to put a fence on your property, whether you want to keep a gun at your house. All of that is personal property rights. And if you look on my literature, you're going to see that I have a saying all over all of it, that capital and freedom is best left with the citizen. Well, what's capital? Well, capital is taken away from the citizen by taxation. Freedom is taken away from the citizen by government over regulation. Both of those should be eliminated. Yes, sir. And I promised Steve I'd talk about guns.
The second priority, however, is what's going on in Bucks County. The gentleman mentioned the comprehensive plan. Bucks County also has a 285-page bicycle plan. Bucks County, every one of the townships in Bucks County follows Agenda 21, probably unwittingly. But I would say if you want to get a leg up on what Agenda 21 is doing, you have to look at the planning departments, you have to look at the ordinances, you have to look at the regulations, and lay them side by side with what Agenda 21 is doing. If you want to, I've got an hour program on it, but for now, I encourage you to really take a look at it because the United Nations is not knocking on the door. They're already in the room.
Well, and essentially, I oppose, in the strongest possible way, central planning, and that's what I call that kind of stuff, central planning. If that catches Agenda 21 and all that, then that's fine. I am against central planning.
Okay.
All right?
Thank
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate
you
it.
very much. Thank you. Thanks, Sean. Tom Lingenfelder, who is GOP candidate for sheriff in Bucks County, is now going to give us an introduction to himself and why he's qualified to be sheriff here in Bucks County. Tom?
I believe in show and tell. Just in case you don't know, this is a brown bess. This was found near Washington's Crossing, where George Washington had a headquarters before he took under the Battle of Trenton. Can you imagine? This thing is in bad shape, it's falling apart, but can you imagine what this must have gone through? This is really the tool of freedom. This represents why we're all here. I had this thing for about 20 years now. I believe this represents everything we stand for. I had someone today sent me an email. He said, I would give up my guns if I could keep my Constitution. I think he's in the room here, by the way. So I replied to him, if you give up your guns, you have no Constitution. Now, I promised I would talk about guns here tonight. You want to know where I stand. Darrell probably said everything I would have said. I don't believe in repeating anything that he said. But I believe I'm running for sheriff because I do believe in the Constitution. I believe we need a sheriff that's going to honor the Constitution. He's not going to equivocate. I promise I will not. I do understand, in fact, the sheriff said this, that he cannot protect you from anybody that wants to take away your guns. He says the Constitution has been superseded by statutes. I don't believe the statute should be honored if they were trying to avoid the Constitution. I will stand between you and anyone who wants to take your guns if you're a legal gun owner. Frankly, I believe the sheriffs in Pennsylvania think they don't have any power. I would like to prove that differently. And if there is any statutes that try to prevent that, I believe that we have to fight that. I will fight that in the courts or wherever we have to. I believe we must reclaim the sheriff as being the chief law enforcement officer of the county. Right now, the county seems to think that the district attorney is the sheriff's boss, the courts are his boss, and the commissioners are his bosses. In fact, He even said so about a month ago, and you can see it on YouTube if you want to. I do not believe in that. I believe that the sheriff should be the chief law enforcement officer of the county because he's responsible directly to the people and has been for over 200 years. The sheriff is the one that protected you and defended the Constitution and defended your rights. I believe we have to get back to that place again. In fact, you'll probably see, I think there are 3,000 sheriffs in the country. About 200 of them have joined forces to reclaim the rights that belong to the people, that the people have given to the sheriff to help them defend their rights. But I brought one other gun along I want to show you too. And you can later come up and look at them if you like to. These guns represent what America has gone through. This is a Patton's chrome pistol. I got this about 10, 15 years ago. Patton gave this to his friend John Carroll, who was an actor. I don't know if anybody remembers him. But you're welcome to come up and look at this afterwards. But I take great pride in owning these things. They're not just guns. They represent what's really good about America. I have another gun that's here too. I can show that to you later. I have Eisenhower's drilling. It was a German gun, probably taken from a German paratrooper. I don't know the details. In fact, I'm going to be talking to his son or his grandson and find out if they know any more about it. But I believe the Second Amendment is probably the most important because, and you all know this, you've all said it, without it, we have none of the rest of it. But can you imagine somebody saying, I'll give up my guns if I can keep my Constitution? I can't believe anybody in here would say that. That's just the opposite of what I believe and I know you believe. And when Darrell was here talking, I have to admit I agree with everything he said. So I would just like to say that I'm glad to be here. And if you want to know anything else about me, I'm giving out constitutions over here, which I've been doing for 10 years. And of course, I used to be a kook when I did that. And now apparently I'm not anymore, at least with most people. I also have my biography there. I've served as a top secret counterintelligence agent for several years. I was recruited and trained by the general who became chief of all intelligence. He was very, very strict and very hard on me and everybody. But I learned a lot from him. What we learned mostly was to prevent problems. As sheriff, I will do everything I can to prevent problems, not create problems like a lot of the elected officials have been doing. And one more thing. And this is the one thing Darrell didn't mention. The problem that we have starts in having the wrong people in office. You can talk to them, you can yell at them, but what you must do is replace them. I'm giving you an opportunity right now, since I'm running for sheriff, to start doing that. But if you don't have anybody running for office, you're stuck with what you have. Could you imagine if all of you in here were representatives in Harrisburg? We wouldn't have too many problems, I don't think. But we have problems because the wrong people are in office. And they are in office because you don't run for office or you don't support somebody that runs for office. Wait and look at the primary in the spring. Throughout the state, there'll be one person running for office in each party in almost 95% of the time. And that person was put in there by a crony politician. Think about it. That's the way to solve the problems. Replace the people that we have in there now. Thank you.
Tom, you want to take some questions?
You want me to?
Any questions?
Actually, it's actually the number of sheriffs is over 400 now. I just checked this morning, nationwide.
That's great, because about 2 weeks ago it was 200.
And 18 of them are in Pennsylvania.
Of course, you have to watch some of them are signing up because they're running for re-election, I think.
Unfortunately, the Bucks County Sheriff is not on that list.
Right, I understand that.
We have a hand up over here.
What's he say?
Could you speak a little louder, please?
What is that? Pardon?
Class 3 weapons, machine guns?
Well, I believe that everybody should be able to own anything they need or think they need to defend themselves. The Constitution is really very basic. The Second Amendment is not so you can go hunting or anything like that. It's to defend yourself. You have a right to defend yourself with whatever you need to, depending on who's coming after you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You were in intelligence. I read in the paper they gave $100,000 to that family of the Boston bomber that came into America. So what can we do to protect ourselves from giving all this money to people immigrating to the country?
Replace the people in Washington.
Yeah.
That-
Okay, good. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Our next speaker is not running for any type of political office. This is all about Second Amendment, our rights to protect and defend ourselves. And here, our next speaker, Laurie Wyson, is somebody who didn't touch a gun until 4 years ago. She wasn't aware of guns until she went to an NRA wilderness experience in, where was it, Arizona? New Mexico. And she came back with such passion that she became a certified NRA instructor, and now she runs a responsible gun ownership training program at her family's shooting range, and is very passionate about reaching out to other people who are like her the way she used to be 4 years ago. So please join me in a warm welcome for Laurie Wilson.
Hello, everybody. I see a couple ladies out here who participated in our Getting Comfortable with Firearms class just this past weekend. Can you raise your hands? Okay. Four of you. That's great. Getting Comfortable with Firearms is a 4-hour class we recently developed at Whiteson's shooting range to introduce safe firearm handling procedures to people who are mostly unfamiliar with guns. With all the talk about guns recently and how evil they are, how horrible, we developed this class to erase fear and offer a level of comfort to that person who's unfamiliar with pistols, rifles, and shotguns. Thanks to Tim Sewerman for his expert marketing skills, and the Concerned Gun Owners of Bucks County Facebook page, this class sold out to 40 women within 24 hours. Our May class is sold out. Yeah.